If you are dating a little bit later in life, I have some news for you. It is possible that the dating apps might be failing you. But today we're going to be giving you a little bit of a fix. Gary, I'm really excited for this because I think we're going to get into the nuance of online dating versus offline dating. But I got to say, man, little nervous putting this one out there because at the end of the day, we are proponents of online dating. It can just be a little bit tricky for those who are dating later in life. Right, so we're going to be diving into the nuance, right?
Yeah, it comes down to how you use things, right? You can use a great tool the wrong way, and I think that's a lot of what's going on with online dating, right? And I think a lot of people out there, while online dating can be quite effective, I think most people are using it incorrectly. Right. And here's the biggest problem with this whole thing is I think most people, if given the choice, prefer real life, organic, in real life dating to online dating, right? Like, absolutely. It's like they want this scenario where guy approaches girl, sparks fly, romance ensues. And like, that sounds amazing. Yet, even now, when that is happening in real life, so many people have been using online dating incorrectly that some of those bad habits have infected the real life dating. All that swiping, clicking, typing, tapping has given people bad habits. Until now, like, we're here to set the record straight on these things.
Yeah. Well, I think even to that point, I'm sure we're going to get into this later. Like, if you meet someone in real life, but you're also online dating, it's very easy to think, well, maybe I can do better. Because I have 100 people online who look way better than this particular guy that I just met in real life. Until you meet those people in real life. And then you're like, oh, wait, maybe John was us. You know, that's the thing is it's just, the grass is always greener online dating. It's always, the profiles are always better than when you meet the person in real life because it is marketing. Like, at the end of the day, people are giving you the best version of themselves. So today in this episode, we want nothing but the best intentions for you. We want to set you up for success in your love life. And we want to really help you kind of fix this mindset and fix this approach so that you can actually make it work for you. And it can be fun. You know, I think that's the goal.
Yeah, I mean, clicking can kill connection. They say it's not intended to. Everything online dating is intended to get people together, but a lot of that clicking can kill connection. And so I think we just have to deal with the fact that, like it or not, online dating is part of modern dating. Like, it's just part of it. And there's lots of people that hate it. You know, I think there are people out there that have, you know, Tinder trauma, a little match mania, or maybe have bumbled their way to becoming unhinged. You like all that? You like all those? Like, those were good, right?
I'm about to. Is there an online dating app to find a new professor, PhD, podcaster?
Dude, that's solid content. Don't be me. Bumbled their way.
I saw a great profile earlier today. This guy who doesn't make cheesy dad jokes. So.
You can't get this high quality dad jokery anywhere. But I think, you know, even though you may have bumbled your way, I'm going to live it. Bumbled their way to becoming unhinged. Everybody uses it, and so you have to learn how to use it the right way. We don't want those bad habits from online dating also ruining our in real life connections. And that's, so you want one more dad joke? You don't want to have a crappy relationship. Oh, crappy, like appy, crappy. No, yeah. A relationship based on all the worst aspects of online dating.
For those listening, if you want to unsubscribe at this point, I get it. No, I'm just kidding. Subscribe, keep following, babe, because we got more dad jokes for all of you. I'm going to lean in. I love it. Let's go. Just depends on the day. So, look, that's fantastic. The crappy relationships. Oh
See? It's in there now. You can't get rid of it.
I'm coming around. So, yeah, look, I think the format of this is we're going to talk about how the dating apps ultimately do engineer disconnection. And the way that most people are using them is actually setting you up for failure. But there are some ways to, once we understand how these are engineered for disconnection, we can then use it in a way that actually sets us up for success. So this is going to be a kind of a complicated one to go through, but I think it's going to be really, really important for those who are just feeling like online dating is just really not working for them. So Gary, you want to jump into the first one?
Yeah, because I think a lot of what people are dissatisfied with online dating is warranted. I think they're dead on. But I think where people get bogged down and stuck, quite frankly, is with the complaint without the solution. And so we're providing both sides to it today. And so I think, you know, in terms of one of the problems that we have that's from online dating is this idea of prioritizing profiles over people. Because the online dating apps, it almost gamifies love. You get all these options, all this swiping. It creates some really bad habits. And so if you've ever been to a casino, right, one of the things they do is you give money and then they give you chips. And it's like, well, this seems inefficient. Like, why can't I just put money directly on the table? Like, why do I need chips? And they do it for a very important reason. It's so that you disconnect your money from, it's a chip. It's not $20. It's 5 chips. It's not $100, because cash, we know what that means, right? We know the value in that. The chips, it's like, oh, what's another couple chips? Like, we just kind of lose. And the same thing happens when you start using online dating too much. You start seeing a bunch of profiles like, oh, look at this profile, this profile. And it's like, no, wait a second. It's not a profile. That's a person. That's a person with feelings, with a past, with hopes and dreams. They're looking for connection just like you are. And so one of the big problems that it creates is it's dehumanizing. And so people start treating each other like commodities and products, and they just forget that there's another real person on the other side of it. And so it makes ghosting and breadcrumbing and love bombing, it makes all these bad behaviors a lot easier to do when it doesn't seem like there's a real person on the other side.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, I think the key way to be thinking about this is use online dating as a tool, obviously, to find people that you can just meet offline, because it's natural through human nature to just make someone a number or just a profile when you haven't met them in real life. And so we're just huge proponents of using this as a tool to get people offline, to get those meetups, as well as just ultimately treat others the way that you would want to be treated, not just a number through this process. And I'm a huge believer in this idea of dating karma. Like, I am not a very woo-woo person. We don't have much coaching here that is very woo-woo, but I do believe in karma, because I think that what you put out there is coming right back at you. And so when we're even online dating and we are, maybe not clicking with someone, or we're not really interested, just by putting the right type of energy out there is going to, in return, give you the right energy back, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when we start looking at people as profiles, it spills over into other behaviors. And one of those other behaviors is kind of looking at people as checklists instead of, checklists to prioritize and manage versus connections to be made. And I think even in real life, people, when they meet, they almost talk to each other as if they're trying to read a profile. Like, and I've heard this from clients and say like, oh, when I go on these dates, they're just not going anywhere. It's like, oh, well, tell me a little bit of how that first date goes. Well, and, our client will say, well, I started asking a bunch of questions about this. And it's really what they're doing is like, what are your hobbies? What are your interests? What's your religion? What's your political beliefs? And it's like asking all these things. It's like, that's not how anybody used to converse, really. Like, but that's exactly how you read a profile. And so this is what I mean by some of the online dating bad habits have transferred over into real life. And so you don't want to get into these conversations where you're treating them like a series of check marks. Oh, he's got the right income, but he doesn't have the right political affiliation. The attire that he's wearing isn't great. And it's like, it doesn't want to be, it shouldn't be a report card either where you're grading people on all these different dimensions. Like, we got to get better at this. The other piece of this that really becomes problematic is you start treating it as a checklist, and then you start creating a scoring system almost. And quite frankly, people are bad at the mental math of this, because we're like, oh, well, he said really nice things to me. He said I look beautiful. Good. But then later, when he's not very good at holding conversation, that's all, like, that outweighs the first one by a lot. But we don't necessarily weight everything appropriately. It's more of he had 5 good things and he had 6 bad things. But it's like, wait a second, some of those good things are more important. Some of those bad things aren't, frankly, all that important. And so we're just bad at the mental math of this a lot of times.
I don't even find, I think you're being generous by using those as the checklists, because those are not usually the checklists that people are using when it comes to online dating. Like, I find it's more usually like, is he funny?
Right.
Is he tall? Is he successful? Does he have a job? Like, it tends to actually not be like what you just described are at least good relationship qualities to be looking for. And I find that with online dating in particular, it kind of brings out the worst part of us. And I'm guilty of this. Like I online dated before I met Jessica, and it gets you into this mentality of being like, okay, I have my perfect robot of a human being that I want, and who most tightly matches up with that, whose profile most tightly matches up on that. And then you find the profile that is perfectly hits all the checklists, and then you meet them in real life and they say hi. And their breath is like dragon breath. And you're like, oh, why did I put so much energy into that person? They met my checklist, but they sucked. You know, it's like, so it's all just kind of ridiculous at the end of the day. And so I think the ultimate solution is, you know, what I think you were alluding to is, you know, focus on relationship variables, on communication, support, emotional intelligence. Are they flexible? Are they able to compromise? Those are all the most important things. And guess what? You're not going to get any of that based on someone's profile.
Right.
Zero of it. It's not, you have to meet them in real life in order to get that. That's why, Gary, I don't know if you ever go through this, but like I sometimes want to gouge my eyes out when someone is telling me about someone they matched with online and they're asking me all these questions about how to handle their quote unquote relationship before they've met that person in real life. And I'm just like, literally, can I take scissors and just poke out an eye with this conversation? Is that too dramatic?
It's true. It's a little. I mean, I get it, right? It's like, but it's more of a problem with them just kind of being starved for connection, and they're operating from scarcity and all this good stuff, and it's like at that moment they need help. Right?
I know. I'm being a little dramatic today. What do you want from me?
Easy, put your easy scissors. But here's the thing with these checklists that I've come to notice about clients is the people who love checklists the most are, I don't want to say all of them, I will say have a tendency to be the avoidant clients. Clients who are avoidant are very much, they want connection, but they're also very sensitive to problems. So they take a much more checklisty kind of approach to dating where he has all these great qualities, but he did say this one thing about cats that I didn't appreciate. And so
those
now
who are unfamiliar with attachment styles, so you mind just explaining what that means exactly?
Yeah, sure. So attachment style is just generally how you relate to folks in relationships. It's about your connections. And so people who are avoidant, I mean, they want closeness, but they're also very worried about abandonment. And so you're on the lookout for how the person's going to hurt you. And so as much as you're yearning for a connection, you also tend to put up emotional walls and just kind of, when things start going well, you look for reasons to sabotage in many ways because it's like, oh gosh, when things are going well, that's when I get hurt. And so with avoidance, you're just kind of overly sensitized to some of the issues. And so I think, that checklist approach really lends itself very well to people who have that avoidant approach for sure.
Yeah. And online dating apps just really, really put you in a corner to focus on checklists because that's kind of how they're built. It's like literally a checklist of the perfect person, which I think lends well to the third reason why it can be tricky with online dating now is that ultimately traits aren't all that great. All right, which is you have more info than ever when you're online dating. But at the end of the day, humans are not great data analyzers. Like we're not great at making a prediction based off a picture and a profile if that person's going to be a great fit for us. And so what it does is online dating really encourages us to zero in on like these very specific traits and then really overanalyze whether or not those are right for us, And so, Gary, why do you think that this is a problem?
Because specific traits don't tell us as much as we think they do. And early on in dating, we have an information gap. We don't know that much. And so people take something really small, a hobby, an interest, a physical quality, and none of that stuff is what makes relationships work, but yet we still extrapolate information from it, right? I just had a client, I think it was 2 weeks ago. She was saying, I met this guy. He seemed really nice. We had a really good conversation. And like you can just kind of hear, like you do this enough, you kind of hear it's like, I'm waiting for the but. There's going to be a but. And so I was like, and then sure enough, there it was. She goes, but he's into NASCAR. And so that means he's not very active. I'm like, wait, it does. And my honest response at the time was, it does? Like, I didn't know that being into NASCAR meant that somebody's inactive. I mean, I guess I could see. I don't know. Like,
That's what she extrapolates from NASCAR. There are so many other stereotypes that I would come out of NASCAR.
Right. That's what I was thinking. Like, I could think of others, but I didn't think of inactive. I don't. Yeah. But so I think this just shows the problem that online dating has created, because it's the illusion of specificity. It's the illusion of knowledge, in the sense that you read a profile and there's concrete information there. So you use that and then you build off of that to make more assumptions. And it starts to feel like a real thing, like you really know who this person is, but you don't. Like, you have a glimpse. I think the other problem that we run into is what I call the myth of matching interests, where people try to over-optimize for compatibility with every possible hobby interest each person has. Right? Like, I just had a client who said, I'm really into hiking, and he said he hasn't hiked before, so we can't be together. And I said to her very clearly, that's not at all what that means. That just means that you might go hiking while he goes and watches NASCAR. I don't know. It was a different client, but it's like, he can do something when you're hiking. I said, I'd almost bet, I said to this client, you probably didn't ask him the most important question. She's like, well, what's that? I'm like, does he want to hike? Right? Because you're a hiker. He says he's not a hiker. That doesn't mean he never shall be or never will hike or never walk in the woods. Like, ask the question. Like, that's actually in many ways the best possible partner is you do this thing. They don't, but they want to learn the thing that you do. Match made in heaven. Like, that's perfect. We get to grow and learn from each other. But like, the dating apps don't necessarily set us up for that. They set us like, I like to hike and you don't. Uh-oh, red flag. And that's not the way this should work. So the solution to this is move away from traits. Don't get bogged down in like the checklists and the traits and all that. Start focusing on dynamics. What is the vibe between you? Meet, have a conversation. How does that go? What's the energy between the two of you? And also look at trajectory. Trajectory is not just who you are now, but who you're going to be in a year, 5, 10, 50 years from now. Because trajectory, if you're looking for long-term love, actually more important than this weekend's date in terms of compatibility. Like, how are we going to work this out long-term? Super important. So don't fall in love with profiles or resumes. It's got to be about the actual connection between the two of you.
Totally. I mean, Gary, if I went back in time and looked at all the traits I was probably looking for in a wife, like, I don't even care about any of those things now, like 15 years later. Like, yep. I think back to my very first love vision, and luckily as my love vision evolved, it had less and less traits like that. But I remember it was like a woman who's really into yoga, who's into spirituality, who really likes to meditate. These are all things. I was just going through a phase for 6 months of like being super into that stuff. And look, I meditate, I'm pretty good about it, but I'm just not in that phase. So if someone back then was just like, hey man, focus more on someone you can grow with, who's open-minded, who sees the world the way you do with curiosity, then you're gonna slowly but surely mold into something that works with one another. And that's so much more important than just being someone who just likes to do yoga. Like, who cares? If I'm with someone who likes to practice yoga, then okay, I get an extra hour a day with them stretching. Okay, cool. Or I could just have an hour by myself stretching, and that's okay. So like, don't worry too much about these things. So,
I was going to leave you to your moment. You look very delighted with the idea of an hour to yourself stretching. So
I do. I went golfing with a guy, and I remember this a couple of years ago. This before Jess started golfing, but I was like, oh man, I really wish Jess would get into golfing more with me. And he's like, dude, my wife golfs all the time, and it's actually a problem because I can never golf with my buddies. So he's like, don't encourage her to golf. Now, like that was his advice to me. Now, I've continued to encourage my wife to golf, and it's great because she likes it just enough where she wants to do it every once in a while, but not like every single weekend,
right.
Like I like to golf. But it's one of those things, at the end of the day, none of it matters. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It really doesn't.
this goes to this myth of matching is like the online dating makes it very easy to find someone who's exactly like you, which seems appealing. And like similarity is attractive. But what we know from the research is similarity is attractive, but it's not actually one of those things that helps longevity and helps long-term fulfillment. Desirable differences is helpful. Someone who does something that you don't, that you can learn from, we know that that is helpful. And then people in the best relationships, I have my activities, you have your activities, and we have our activities. Like we have a blend of all these things. It's not spending every moment together, doing every last thing together. We can each have separate interests. And we do know, some of my own research shows that helps us have new material to share with our partner. If you and your partner do everything together all the time, you're living the exact same life and you don't have anything to share. There's no novelty. And so I think that's an undervalued thing that online dating kind of, not explicitly, but probably tacitly encourages, right? I think... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just want to say one quick thing. Like, I think what we are always trying to do, Gary, is we're trying to, in some ways, take a little bit of the emotion out of the early process of dating and bring some strategy with us, because it's really easy for us to get really excited. Like, oh my God, this person has this one trait. They're really excited. You know, like I have this one thing in common. That's amazing. And I think one thing that we're always doing is we want to follow our heart, but we want to bring some strategy with us. And so I just want to give everyone a resource that they can use as they're listening to this, which is learning what we call the 7 little love steps. And this is a 7-step process, if you're single, that you can walk through to go from where you are right now to a long-lasting relationship. This has been vetted for over a decade. We've had tens of thousands of clients follow this process and attract incredible relationships. And for the podcast listeners, we have a special area where you can go through this entire process. It's actually a cool interactive training that I think you'll all enjoy. It's at thelovesteps.com. Again, that's thelovesteps.com. And yeah, just go check it out. It's going to allow you to kind of step outside of the emotional chaos of dating and have a real clear strategy that you can follow to be able to attract the right person. So, Gary, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just want to give everyone that resource.
No, that's good. That fits in perfectly right here, because our fourth thing here is being picky instead of precise. Like one of the things that the apps do an amazing job of is showing you all of the potential partners that are near you. And so you start swiping and it's like, oh, it seems endless. Like there's going to be all these people. And it encourages a little bit of pickiness. And when I say picky, I mean picky on the wrong things. And I've heard all of these, which is, I didn't like the shirt he was wearing in his photo. Next. Oh, facial hair. Nope. Next. Right. And it's like, I could go on and on and on, but it's like, there's a lot of just things that guys have on their profile that make them what we call nextable, but they're actually not, right? Like clients will say, nope, 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 nope. And these things don't matter. But what we do want to encourage is precision. Because when you're picky, you can have a confirmation bias, which is like whatever you're looking for, you're going to find. So if you're feeling negative or grumpy, you're going to find problems with almost every profile. You're just going to find all kinds of reasons not to match. Totally. And so the crazy thing is the same trait, depending on your confirmation bias, is going to land very differently. And so as I was putting together the notes for this podcast, this happened on a mastermind with me. And it was like, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the perfect example. So a client is telling us, she's like, I saw this guy and he seemed great. Like profile seemed great. But then I started going through his pictures, which is exactly what we coach people to do, is like read the profile first, then go through the pictures. She's going through the pictures. She's like, he has lots of pictures of him with his car. And she goes, it's a classic Corvette, I think. And I was like, oh, what year? She didn't care. But anyway, he had a picture of all these cars. And the client says, he's obviously obsessed with his car, so he won't have time for a relationship. And then another client immediately chimes in and she's like, wait, I think it's nice to see that he has his own hobbies and interests. Like he looks really happy in doing this. Totally. And so same guy, same cars. One jumped to the conclusion and was like, nope, he won't have time for a relationship. The other one's like, look at him. He actually loves this hobby. He loves his car. Like look at his joy. Like, isn't that great? And I think it points out like, you can be too picky because we don't know. And remember, like she hadn't even met this guy yet. She just was making all these judgments from his picture. And that's the definition of pickiness. If you're like, I can't. Precision though, what we really try to help our clients do is be precise with their love vision. know what you're looking for, know what you value, know what matters to you for long-term love, and be precise with looking for that. Ignore a lot of the noise, ignore a lot of the colors of shirts, the cars you might be taking pictures with. None of that stuff actually really matters. What matters is what's in your love vision, and that's where you need to be precise.
Gary, you want to hear one of the most memorable moments that your car story reminded me of on a mastermind? This happened about like 3 years ago, where a client came on and she's like, there's this amazing guy, we've been chatting, but I got a big problem. He's into motorcycles. And she started just going off on guys who have Harley Davidsons, who they're so loud, they're obnoxious, they drink too much, they're probably in a gang. And I let her go on. I'm just enjoying
That had to be awkward for you.
I'm like, oh yeah, tell me more about how much you hate guys on motorcycles. Oh, they're just the worst. And I'm like, so let me show you a picture of me with my Harley. I happen to love motorcycles, and so do you hate me? It's like such a, she's like, you have a motorcycle? I'm like, come on, do you even know me? And it was a good moment, though, where it's like we have all of these assumptions where, once again, like, is it in your love vision to not be with a guy who drives a Harley? Probably not. So go out with him. Go see what the deal is. Don't fill in the blank. So, yeah, let's not shit on too much people who ride Harleys. You know, that's the key.
That's fantastic. I wish I was there.
Yeah.
So another thing that goes on with online, because you sit there and you get to look at all these different profiles, it puts us in this mindset of being what psychologists call egocentric. And so egocentrism is kind of a mindset where it's what's in it for me. And so I think this is one of the problems that everything we've talked about up to this point, this is the underlying root cause of a lot of it, is we're looking for ourselves and we're only thinking about ourselves. And now I know on some level that seems completely natural. Like, I am looking for my partner. Shouldn't I be focused on myself? Yes. And your partner should be too. But ultimately, a relationship's about two people. A relationship's about collaboration. It's about partnership. It's about compromise. So if both people are always thinking entirely and only about themselves, that's going to be doomed from the start. And so that's a big problem, is you want to be, you should focus on yourself, but you can't only optimize for yourself. Because if you do, you create this dynamic, which is, what can you do for me? What can you give me? What are you doing? Guys, if they're doing the same thing, are in that same mindset. And it just becomes, you can make dating start to feel very transactional. And it's literally the opposite of what you want.
Yeah, it feels like shopping. You know, it's like being the Shein for men. It's just, you're looking for cheap dates online, and you just, it's all about what's the best deal I can get. You know, like, how do I get the most value from this? And look, I get it. These sites are designed to do that. They want it to be addictive. They are not really designed, even if their marketing says they're designed to be deleted, they're really not, because they don't get paid if you find love. They're designed to be really engaging and to continue getting into this kind of like what more can I get? What more can I get? And if we can break that cycle and recognize that this is just a tool to meet people offline, and in fact, all this swiping, all this stuff going on, it's not just about me, it's about creating that relationship and getting to know that other human being and being a giver and being a connector and finding someone who does the same, then suddenly it can really set you up for success. And so I think with all of this, it's important, I think, as a final point, to just remember that online dating is not designed, a lot of people will get lazy when they're online dating. They'll make it almost feels like it's just a game, like it's a challenge or it's a puzzle to navigate. And instead, what we want to really encourage is to, once again, use as a tool to connect with people, but then get your beautiful behind off of the couch and go start meeting some of these guys. Because if we get caught in this endless cycle of just swiping for entertainment, I'm telling you, it's going to erode at your ability to actually find love. It's not going to help you. So ultimately, the ultimate solution with all this is to take action, take ownership, and go out there and don't just wait for someone to come into your life, actually go meet these guys in real life.
Yeah, I think so much of this is start kicking it old school. Start dating like it's the 1900s again. Like, get back to your values, get back to your roots. Put yourself out there, be natural, be authentic, be curious. Show people in your life mutual respect. Show a little bit more patience, and just get out there and meet people in person. And try, when you do, not to let some of the bad habits of online dating ruin those in-person experiences as well.
Yeah. And just as a caveat, when we say meet people in person, online dating can very much so work for you. It's just use it as a tool to meet people offline. And one thing that we do with our coaching, so Gary and I both run a group coaching program called Love Accelerator, where we work with clients to set up their profiles. We have, of course, many masterminds and coaching sessions where we answer questions and we connect with clients. We have a whole series of coaches around here. And one thing we do is we will have our clients set up their profile with a very specific structure so that they get the right types of people messaging them. And then we set them up with a very step-by-step structure to move it offline as quickly as possible. Right, Gary?
Yeah.
Because this is not designed to spend 2 months, 3 months of just chatting back and forth. And so just keep that in mind. This can work. Our clients will use our process and they'll see a huge, huge change in response on their online dating profiles. So it's worth it. Put in the extra work. And yeah, let's move these things offline. And of course, as always, if you would love some help in this area of your life, we would love to speak with you. If you go to loveapply.com, you can apply for what we call love strategy session, where someone on our team is trained by Gary and I, who will really walk you through this process of creating a strategy that works for you. If online dating feels exhausting right now, we can make it more fun again, or even press pause on it to meet people offline. Don't worry, we'll press play again at some point. But ultimately, we want to set you up for success. So if you go to loveapply.com, go ahead and apply for that session. You can chat with someone on our team. We will set you up for success, and you can work with us to create that love life that you truly deserve. So, Gary, that was a lot of fun, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Adam.
Thanks, buddy. Bye.